Welcome back to Breaking Silence, the Haven's Real Talk podcast. We are continuing the series on sexual assault. It is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we have been busy.
We've been very busy. As a matter of fact, you look really nice today.
Thank you.
We're wearing clothes.
Yeah, we aren't dressed up. We did Crime Victims Week. The DA's office here in Lowndes County hosted the Crime Victims Lunching. It was very nice.
Very nice. Very moving.
It was. Great speakers. I think the theme this year was Listen, Act.
I don't remember. Listen.
They had some signs. It was really nice.
It was very
But it was
nice.
about protecting and serving the community, and trying to give back to the victims' families who've lost their lives over the year of 2025.
But I think the most moving part for me was when the key speaker mentioned forgiveness and how when she was able to give that release to the person who had hurt her son.
Yeah.
And the forgiveness, her giving him forgiveness, released her from her.
Yeah, how did she say that? She said,
I did write it down.
The charges were dropped against me. And I was, that was good.
Yeah, it was really good. Hang on, I did write it down. I felt a little something move me. Let's put it in my notes. Let me get here. She says, if we choose to forgive, the sun will shine again. She's a mom whose son was hurt, and he did live. But she said forgiveness isn't an option, but a requirement. So that's a lot good for a mama. Mm-hmm. I'm a mama. You're a mama. And so...
that's hard to do when somebody hurts your baby.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was very good.
Very good.
Thank you to the district attorney's office for hosting that and having everybody attend. It was nice.
Yeah, we had everybody was out there.
Yeah.
All different disciplines. So it's great.
What else we have going on? We have a lot of percent nights we've already done. We have a couple coming up.
Tonight is Panera?
Yeah. Which when this comes out, it won't be anymore.
Right. But it will be Bunko.
It will. Bunko's coming up.
Bunko's next week.
The 30th.
Mm-hmm. Next
April
Thursday.
30th. If you don't have tickets, guaranteed fun.
It's Disco Bunko. Come get your groove on.
It's going to be a good time. I love Bunko. I still don't know the rules.
I was just going to say, I don't know the rules, but if you know how to roll dice.
It's all luck. So.
Mm-hmm. And it's a fundraiser. And so we're having our silent auction with our purses. The purses look great.
I get a purse every year at Bunko.
I won the big door prize last year. They're all still jealous.
We've been hating on that for a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice purse.
It is.
And you're coming as an attendee. You'll be working it this year.
I'll be working it this year. And Michelle's already told me I can't play this year because she wants that purse. This year's door prize, it's very nice.
It is nice. It's a purple Coach. It's really nice. Pretty.
I didn't really like it a whole lot until I picked it up and touched it and looked at it, and it looked good on my arm. Now I like it.
Yep. I always try to buy a purse at the Bunko event for Mother's Day because Mother's Day is so close. And I'm like, this is my Mother's Day gift to me.
Yeah. And so Bunko is next Thursday, the 30th. It's at the Patterson?
Yep, at the Patterson. Doors open at 6 o'clock. The game will start at 7.
Mm-hmm. And
your tickets include T-shirt, game, food.
Yeah, they have food. They do have drinks.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still tickets available.
Yeah.
You can put a little code in
I don't think
here.
there's very many, but yeah.
Okay, well... If we still have tickets available when this rings, you'll put the little code in there too when you do your edit.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yep, I'll put the QR code. I'll put the link to buy tickets and everything. What else have we done? We are short one podcast. We missed a podcast this month. It's been really crazy.
Why did we miss that podcast? What happened?
I may have spilled coffee all over my computer.
And it had to be a caramel mocha. It had to be sticky.
And the whole thing.
It couldn't have just been coffee.
I dumped my computer out on the side and it was just coffee was running out the ports. It was bad.
We called IT stat. We
Yeah.
did. They came out really quick.
They fixed it. It was a little touch and go for a minute. It would shut off and come back on, but
And Lila and I were gone. We went to New
then
Orleans.
right after that, you left.
Yep, we went to New Orleans. One of the advocates and myself, Lila. We went to End Violence Against Women International Conference. It was a great conference. Lots of fun stuff to learn.
What are a few of the classes you attended? I don't know about everybody, but
Well, I did a lot of nurse classes. You know, there's a lot of people who I look up to in the nursing world, forensic nursing world. They were there to speak, so of course I went to support them, and you always learn something new. But these were nurses also who were speaking from Colorado. There was a lot that touched on strangulation, and you always learn new techniques from other nurses. I mean, the nursing world is big, but the forensic nursing world is not so big. And so we usually do meet up when we go to conference, and you know, you nod and acknowledge one another. So I learned a lot in some of the nursing classes. The speakers there that they had for across the board were great. They talk a lot about resilience and also, you know, what people are doing in other parts of the country. And then there were other countries that were even there. This is End Violence Against Women International.
Yeah,
So
it was everybody.
there were like 1,800 people at this conference. But then also, probably my favorites were the seminars on testifying in court. They had two really sharp, one is a prosecuting attorney, and the other she's an expert witness in just about everything, but she also teaches how to testify and what we as expert witness, if we are deemed an expert witness, what we should request if we are subpoenaed, that we want to meet. We want to know what we're saying before we go in.
Right.
As a nurse, I want to, because this case could have been 6 years ago. So, and you could maybe tell me a victim's name. If I get a subpoena, I'm not going to have a victim's name on it. I'm going to have the state of Georgia against
The defendant.
the defendant. So we got to do a little backtrack there. And I want to review my chart. I can't change my chart. I can't do anything like that. I'm very objective. My chart should reflect that. And I just go in and I want to review my chart. A lot of times for me personally, I just need to read a little bit of my notes. Oh yes, I remember this case. At that point, if there's anything, you know, I don't really need to know, okay, this is my chart.
Right.
And but there are ways that you can, because it's very overwhelming to be called to court. You know,
Yes, it
you are
is.
definitely under a microscope. Somebody's going to be looking at your work. For me, there's always room for improvement. That's why we go to these things. And so they're talking about ways to stay calm. These are things you should look forward to them asking you. So it's nice to have that kind of backup. And then I enjoyed that, really. I've been to court a few times. I've been to military court. I've been to civilian court, two different worlds. So it's nice to know what to expect. But we should always be talking. We can be called by the defense, and that's fine too. But I want to talk to that defense attorney and find out, what do you want from me? What can I help you with?
Right.
And all we have to do is go up and speak the truth. And our charts are the truth. So we go up and we talk about our chart and what
If
we
you
saw.
can get that prep ahead of time,
I hope we do. I mean, I know that
it's very important. But
there are times. Prep is always important. You've been called as an expert witness before, and so you know what I'm talking about because you've got such experience in domestic violence and sexual assault. You've been called as an expert witness based on your experience. But if you're
Right.
taking care of a victim, you cannot be called to court.
right.
So those victims have kind of like a doctor-patient confidentiality.
Yeah. It's victim advocate privilege, same as like attorney privilege with your clients.
Right.
And the fact that what we say can't be brought to court, that we can't be forced to testify on behalf of our victims, or with the information that we know about the victims that we serve. There are circumstances around that and loopholes when necessary, but for the most part, we don't. If we're working with a client, they're your victim, you're not going to court for their case.
Right, right. And I mean, that kind of ties into what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to take a tour of our exam room. But while we're in that exam room, that exam room is mine. And pretty much when we're in there, me personally, I read the room. I do try to make it as friendly as possible. There's times where, if appropriate, we might cut up. We might even turn on music.
Yeah.
Anything to kind of lighten the situation that we're in.
Yeah, so it's not so heavy or scary or
Right.
intimidating.
But all of that's mine. Like if something, because I have to document to the patient's demeanor. How are they? And that can be different. They can be stone cold straight. They can be giggling. They can laugh. They can be crying. They can be quiet.
And I've seen it all in between, all of it.
I want to say that does not mean that something didn't happen.
Right. Trauma, the way that we handle trauma and the way we cope with it is very different for every individual person. So we'll see some people laughing. And I've even had a victim tell me, I don't understand why I'm laughing. This is not a funny situation. So I'm sorry that I'm laughing. And I'm like, you're okay.
Right.
Like we don't have any control over the way that we process our trauma and cope with it as soon as it happens. And it could be crying. It could be stone cold nothing. And it could be laughing and all in between.
Yeah. And so while we're in that exam room, that's for me to document. That's for me to write about. And again, as a nurse, and when I was a contract nurse, you'd call me in the middle of the night. I'd show up at 2:00 in the morning. If we're done by 4:30-ish, I'd roll out and I'm done with that victim or that patient or that client. They're all those names are interchangeable
words we use.
I'm done with them until we go to court.
Yeah.
And even then, I might not see them at court because I'll be called in at a different part. I don't get to see the whole beginning to end.
Yeah.
I'm called in for my portion. But after that exam, you stay with them. So all of the things that they tell you the feelings that they're having, the things that they're going through, that's between you two.
Right.
And I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I just don't know. All of that is under confidentiality.
Yeah, with the exception of if they're threatening harm to themselves, others, or if children are involved of something dangerous that we need to report. Those would be the only situations in which we would not uphold our strict confidentiality.
But even in that case, that's all you're reporting. You're not really going into a whole lot.
Details.
Anything related to, I want to hurt myself, I want to hurt someone else, or my kids are in danger.
Right.
Right. So
that would be the only thing that we reported. But if they tell us details about a case and they say, I don't want anybody to know this, I don't want to tell anybody about this, that's ours to keep. We can give them options, like here are your options with those information, and kind of let them decide what they want to do with that.
Right. And that's heavy work too.
Mm-hmm. It can be. Mm-hmm. It can be when they tell me things and I'm like, oh, you really got to tell somebody about this.
And you encourage them, but I guess you can't force them.
Yeah, we can't make any decisions on their behalf or persuade them in one direction or the other, but we can give them their choices and their options. And
you can get them into counseling, hopefully.
Definitely. If it's something that I'm concerned about, you need to talk to somebody about this. We're getting you into a counseling.
Right. That's good stuff. I say it all the time. These advocates, I get to do the fun science stuff, but the advocates, they hold strong. They keep these clients on to the very end. What do you do? How do you do your calls, your checkups?
We do. So here at the Haven, we have what we call 30, 60, 90. So we're Haven policy. We reach out every 30, 60, and 90 days. So once a month, basically. All of our cases, we hold a minimum of 90 days. That's not the maximum. That's the minimum. We're going to carry you for 90 days regardless of what happens with your case. After 90 days, if you've received all the services, you're in therapy, you're in a safe place, everything's going great, your court case may have been dropped, or the charges dropped, or they're no longer investigating and there's no prosecution to that, but we've done everything on our end, we might close you out after 90 days. In that same scenario that your case is dropped, but we are not successful in getting you into counseling, you may still not be in a safe place. We might hold on to your case a little bit longer in our office. For the reverse of that, if you have a case going through prosecution, we're going to keep it until it goes to prosecution and you're done. So that could be 2 years out, year and a half out. That would be our minimum with them. We want to see them through the end and make sure they have everything they need up until they're completely finished with this assault, from the very beginning to the very end, and whatever that end looks like for that person. So yeah, we follow them through that whole process. In the very early stages, we reach out to them within a couple of days after that exam process to check in, make sure there's no issues with their medications, there's no side effects they need to talk to the nurse about, make sure they're getting into their primary care physicians. If they're pregnant, their OBGYNs, or if they have concerns about STIs, to get them into for testing. All of those things are going to be pretty quick after the exam. Just because we have a 30, 60, 90 requirement does not mean that's the only time we're reaching out to them, because we're doing a lot of stuff initially. In the first, I would say month, maybe 2 months, it is really heavy on contact. If you need, you may even need surgery or whatever from this assault, from what happened to you. There may be specialists involved. You may need transportation to get to those specialists, finances to help cover the cost of those. We're signing you up for crime victims compensation that helps pay and cover the cost of these things. So all of that is a lot of what's initially happening. And then as we get further away from the case and you're getting into therapy and things are kind of working out, then we'll reach out and do that monthly contact and then keep them updated on their cases. Every other month we'll do updates on cases.
So I have two things I want to clarify there. You said you help them with the crime victims comp.
Yes.
You don't just give them a pamphlet and say, here, fill this out, or call this number or anything like. What if they need other services, or you feel they qualify, like say for Medicare or Medicaid that they're not already on? Are you guys able to help them with that too?
Yeah, we'll help them fill out the applications. A lot of times, especially with Medicare and Medicaid, if they get denials, then we have to get Georgia legal attorneys in to break through that appeal process or to file for those appeal processes. So we can initially help, but if they do end up getting a no or something like that, then we'll refer out and bring on Georgia legal.
Because that can be very overwhelming for someone. Like, that's a good...
Yeah.
Well, I give up.
And a lot of time, well, I don't want to say like a lot of times. It's just
every case is different.
Every case is different, but we have scenarios where the perpetrators to them work with them or live in the same household, and so when you remove those people,
that's money.
It's money gone.
Right.
So you either may not be able to stay at your job, or you may not be able to stay at your home, or we're trying to remove somebody else from that home. So we use a lot of the TPO processes, getting those temporary protective orders and stalking orders. We also will help use that crime victims comp to help pay for some of this. But if they are not eligible for crime victims comp, or it's taken too long for them to get that money back, we'll go ahead with our victim assistance help initially until some of those things get kicked in.
Well, that's good to know. So let me ask you this. So if you have a client who has gone through something and they've come to us, they've received our services, and they don't want to talk to you, can they come back? Can they change their mind?
Of course.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Like, so if you reached out at 30 days, nothing, 60, nothing, 90, nothing, but say 6 months down the road, and they call and they say, look, I've been struggling.
They can always reach back out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We'll always help no matter what. We've had people call us years later.
Yeah.
I've recently had a client that I've worked with who was assaulted 15 years ago. But things that are currently happening now are bringing that back up for her.
So the assault didn't have to happen here.
Right.
Okay, cool. The assault didn't happen here. It didn't happen. Now we do, like we've talked before, talked about our timeline for collecting evidence. You know, we have a max for adults and adolescents is 5 days. But so someone who's been assaulted 15 years ago, clearly they're not coming in for a forensic exam,
Right.
but they can come to you still for
Additional services. And at that point, it looks different. Case management and advocacy looks different for everyone. But when it's years past, sometimes you just need to talk to somebody who understands. I might not understand her situation or understand what she's been through, but I understand the world that she's currently living in. With that, I've been assaulted. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. What are some resources around me that I can help you with? So I can point anybody in the right direction to say, here's your next steps. Here's the part that you're looking for. No matter how much time has passed, whether it was a week ago or 15 years ago, there's always resources available. There's always support groups and therapy options and advocacy to help you with if you're wanting to file it for a police report, or maybe you did file it initially and you're wanting to revisit that. I've had that a couple of years ago. I think she was maybe 6 years past. She had originally reported the assault. The case didn't make it all the way through. There just wasn't enough evidence to push it through to prosecution. But she had new information, and she called us and she said, "What can I do?" And I said, "Report it. You can report it. I'll go with you."
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I know that one time we had a patient and we worked on it. I believe you were the advocate. We might have been training someone else, but the patient or the client brought a support person. And I remember her support person sitting beside her saying, "I wish I had this when this happened to me." You know, and
Yeah.
do you remember what case?
Yeah, I do remember. She said, "Wow, I just wish I had all this when I had gone through my assault."
Yeah, and that was powerful for me because I was glad that she was here to support that person. But
It also makes you sad for her that.
yeah, because we just want to save everybody. We just want everybody to know that these resources are here.
And somebody cares.
Yeah, and we've had people come from other states that the crime happened in another state, but we took care of the exam here, and then we helped relocate that person elsewhere because you called another center. So it's not just here. We can reach out to another center if we're trying to relocate somebody. I watched you do it. I don't even know how you do it. I'll be in here doing something, and you've got somebody already connected in another state. You're talking to another police department to try and file the report and everything. Honestly, she's amazing. But
thank you.
Because I don't know, you just know we do.
Resources.
Yeah, and you know how to get in touch with them outside of little old South Georgia. So Good for you. Good job.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. So do you want to move to the exam room and give everybody a tour? This is kind of a trigger warning for anyone who may have gone through this process. You don't have to watch the rest of this show. You can catch us on our next episode, but we will be showing the full exam process, what that looks like, what to expect, and how it works.
Yeah, we're going to avoid the graphic detail, but we're going to look at the exam room a little bit. We're going to look at our interview room. We're going to give you a perspective from when our clients walk into the door, what they're seeing. So, like I said, we'll avoid the graphic detail, but we're just going to focus on safety, choice, privacy, and support. That's what you're about to see. So
that was very good.
You like that?
Yeah.
Okay. No, but that's what we do.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, we'll be in a different setting the next time you see us, but we'll see you in a minute. Well, hey y'all, welcome back.
Let's go on inside and check out the Sexual Assault Center.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Evie.
Come on in.
You want to go ahead?
I'll go ahead. Thank
Okay.
you, thank you.
This is our Sexual Assault Center and our interview room. This is Evie. This is one of our full-time sexual assault advocates here at the Haven. Always doing work and helping out, and a lot of behind the scenes on the podcast stuff also.
Weird.
Lila, she is our volunteer coordinator. You've probably seen her face on our social media apps. And if you ever want to volunteer, or if you need an internship through your college, this is the lady to talk to. She's also a sexual assault advocate. We're going to do a whole podcast together and go a deep dive into what it is to be a volunteer and what our interns do here.
Our first room here, we actually have 2 exam rooms here at our crisis center. This one is geared more toward the children. We have a few toys in here. We have special gowns just for the children. In here we do have a blanket warmer. We have a camera set up in here just as we do in our other exam room. So this room and our main exam room are the same. They're separated here by a bathroom, which we'll show you that in just a little bit. But first we're going to show you the other parts of our office.
And here we have our kitchen. We have lots of snacks and drinks for the clients that work here. Law enforcement will often stop by and get a snack. And then we have our coffee station.
This is important, the coffee station. All kinds of coffee. We all need this.
We're 24 hours, so we live on coffee and caffeine.
So now we're going to actually go through our exam room to get to our interview room. And in our interview room right now, we do have an advocate sitting in there. Both of them are advocates, but Shay is going to help us out with some patient stuff today too.
Hello again. So this is our interview room. I know Robin just kind of explained it, but this will be one of the first places you come once we get everybody here, get whatever you need. It's comfortable. We've got our couch. We've got some blankets if you need anything like that. So come on in. And if you're an adult, we've got some paperwork in this blue folder here. And if you are a child,
Continue.
okay. If you're a child, we use the green paperwork. Very simple stuff, just a lot of confidentiality. You come see us, everything you tell us is going to be confidential. So what I would do, excuse me, ma'am, come on down here, go through our paperwork. You don't have a pen? You have a pen? No. No more than 10 pages. Just basic stuff to protect you and make sure that we've got everything we need to make sure you're okay. And then we turn it over to our nurse who does our forensic interview portion.
So while we're in this room, typically my advocate would be sitting over here, our client will be sitting over here, and then this is the seat where I sit. I sit closest to the client, to my patient. This is where I do get demographics from the patient. I get all of their medical history, all of those things first, and then we begin the interview where I get the patient's history of what happened to bring them to the Haven. This can take some time. Sometimes we have to stop. Again, like we said, this is all done in a trauma-informed way. Sometimes we're in and out. Like Taylor and I talked before, that everybody has a different, what's the word? They all act different. Some may be tearful, so that may take them a little longer to get through. Others can be mad, and we can get that done relatively quickly. But me personally, I typically write everything that my patient is telling me, and that's going to go into my chart like we talked about. Once we get to this part in here and in the next room, what that client says, what my patient says, what this victim says, all of that's going to go into my chart. If I'm not in the room, anything that is spoken to the advocate, that's theirs. But if I'm there, again, all of that is supposed to go into my chart, and then I can be called to testify on those things in court. So it's important that we work closely, our nurses work closely with the advocates so that we all know our role and where we need to be and what we need to hear. So we're in here, we finish up, then we take a trip into our exam room. So this is our exam room, which looks much like a regular, maybe doctor's office. It's a little cozier. I think maybe the color of the walls is a little more welcoming, but we do have a GYN chair. This chair goes up and down, just like what you might encounter when you go to a regular gynecological visit. It goes up and down. This is more for me, so I can bring the patient up or bring them down. The chair also lays back. I have stirrups. I'm able to pull this out, and then the stirrups come out as well. They're way under here. Just like a regular visit. The other fun things we have in this room, this is our camera right here. And this is where we're gonna show you some stuff. Shay's gonna help us out because at some point this week, Shay has walked into something. So Shay's got some bruising that we wanna look at. So I'm gonna just kind of take a photo back here of that. Actually, I wanna bring it back a little bit. This is gonna allow me to see where, where this injury is. We take a series of photos, so clearly that is her left leg, right? And we're gonna say, okay, we want that picture. Then we're gonna zoom in a little closer, we're gonna look at that bruise, and Shay has dark skin, so bruising sometimes might be hard to see on her. Move my camera in, but I can get that right there and take that photo again. A little closer, I'm gonna accept that photo, and then I'm gonna have Shay, can you hold this for me? Yeah, right there. This is gonna help me. One, it's gonna show that this is a face-on photo, but it's also gonna be able to help me measure. When I go to do my documentation, I'll be able to see what the size of that is. And sometimes I might tell my advocate, if we've got a lot of bruising going on, I'll have my advocate maybe jot down a few numbers for me. But let's look at some of these pictures of Shay's bruise here. See, because she's got dark skin, it's harder to see some of that bruising, but this system that we have will let us see some of these things a little bit better. I can enhance the contrast. This is like an inverted filter, and now you can kind of see those marks a little bit better. And then even if I put them together like this, you go from here, look, I can even see a bit of bruising up here, here, and here. And then over here, you can see underneath there. So this is a very powerful tool that we like to use. And I can save that photo. The other fun thing about this camera, and typically we might turn off the lights and we might go ahead and put this filter on, which is gonna turn our light blue. And this is an alternate light source that we have here, the blue light. And the thing we use with that blue light, it's gonna help us see, well, if there's something in front of it, it's gonna help us illuminate and see, we can see semen, we can see body fluids, we can see saliva, semen, and then it just picks up that protein. So I can't always say what it is. I document what the patient says it may be, and I take a photo of it. But I can't definitively say that because I'm not the one analyzing it. The lab says it. Because for all I know, it's part of a peanut butter sandwich from lunch. So I just document it, take a photo of it, and we move on to the next part. So after we get our photos and everything of that sort taken care of, then we kind of come back over, and that's where we get a little more invasive. That's where I may do the swabbing. That's where I may do, talking about where I may find some DNA. I collected DNA. These are just Q-tips. It's pretty harmless, other than just being in a vulnerable spot. This should not hurt at all. If I feel that I can find evidence, maybe in the vaginal vestibule, I will swab that area. If I feel I may be able to find some more evidence, say on the cervix, if allowed, I will do a speculum exam. and I can even swab the cervix inside. All of those swabs I put on this, in this special thing. This is a swab rack, and I typically use a Sharpie. We write down where that swab came from. When we're finished collecting, we put our swabs in a dryer. This is our dryer. Put it in there, and we will turn it on. Then I let my swabs dry. While my swabs are drying, I'm moving on to something else. Whether I'm documenting on my iPad, which is where our charts are contained, they're all electronic, or if I'm talking to the patient about what our next steps are, the swabs are in there. I do, in the very beginning of this case, I would have taken and gotten what we call a buccal swab, and that is where I collect the patient's DNA. Always first, that's the first one. I like to put it in the dryer by itself so that I can say, nope, those swabs never came in contact with these swabs. So after all of my swabs are dry, then they go into these little envelopes that are specific from the GBI kit, and you know, I might have to do some nail clippings and everything. I go ahead then, package these up, and I'll put evidence tape on each envelope to close it up. I put my initials and the date and the time on each envelope that I collect. If I think that my patient has been drugged, like we call that a drug facilitated assault. If that's the case, then we'll get out what we call a drug facilitated sexual assault kit. And this kit right here, it's got all kinds of paperwork in it, but we open it up first here. It's got a small bottle for a urine collection, and it also has everything that I need in it to be able to draw blood. Drug facilitated kits are important if we get our patient, now like we talked before, our patients are typically seen within 120 hours, so that's 5 days. But if we think it's drug facilitated, we need them in here sooner. And if we get them within 72 hours of maybe them being drugged, a urine is the most important piece I can get. Blood, 24 hours, urine, 72 hours. And the GBI looks for a lot more than the hospital does. That's in a nutshell what we do here. After I get all of those envelopes, I seal them all up in a big envelope. I make sure I fill out the front of this. I put my evidence tape on this. We call law enforcement. That's the end of our physical exam. If this patient has been through a lot, they haven't yet showered, this is what we call an acute case, it just happened. I very well may be collecting clothing. You may have seen sometimes on TV where they'll put things in an evidence bag. We do the same. One piece of clothing per bag. And then we document on the front what it is. We seal it up. I'll staple it closed. I put evidence tape on it, and it goes too. If our patient has just been here, we've collected all of her clothes, she hasn't yet showered, then we bring her into our restroom here. We have a very nice bathroom. We have all kinds of toiletries, shampoos, and things like that. And if she wants to get a shower, she can. We have clothes that she can go home in, and we make her feel as comfortable as she can. This is probably the most relaxing part of what our clients go through here. We have a whole closet full of a lot of new clothes that have been donated from the community. At that time, while the patient's in here, I'm usually in here still finished wrapping up evidence, but also I have medications that I will get out and give for them. So we give those medications, we give the instructions on how to take those medications, and that's pretty much the end for me. Then I hand it back over to the advocate.
Yep, and we take it from there. We make sure that they have a full packet of information. It depends on their circumstances, what they need in that moment. We fill that packet up with all of the resources that are available for them in that particular time. Moving forward, we will send them home, send them on their way, contact them the next couple of days to check in, see how things are going, and then we start our case management on that case up until the very end. And I'm so glad that you got to go through this exam process to show what victims have to go through from start to finish and what it looks like to be here in our center. So we can't wait to see you on the next podcast. Thank you so much for coming in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.